Hi guys, my name is Ty Preiniger and I'm a technology facilitator here at MISD in Mesquite. And today I'm going to give you a step-by-step instruction on how to complete the first layer in our Mapping of U.S. History project for 8th grade. Our first layer lesson is about the motivations of exploration and colonization. And so in order for you to do this with your class, the first thing that you're going to need is the instruction sheet. That looks like this. And so this instruction sheet has everything that kids will have to add to their maps: markers, lines, descriptions, and all the information. It would help if they have a paper copy sitting with them at their desk for that part. And then they're also going to need to have their map ready to go. So I gave you instructions on a link to, a copy with all of our layers already made. But like I said, today we're going to be only working on the first layer. So have your kids with their copy of the map ready to go. And I'll kind of begin the first lesson. The first thing that we need to be doing for this layer map is adding 3 markers for the following countries: for England, France, and Spain. So to add a marker, I recommend that you zoom in enough to be able to see the country names in Europe. And so here below the search bar is a marker icon. We're going to click Add a Marker, and I want you to drop that marker just right in the middle of the United Kingdom. When you drop it, you're able to name it. So we're going to name this England. Click Save, and we want to change the color of this to red, because every single marker that we ever do this school year that has to do with England will always have it color-coded red. So you can X out of that, and you can see that on my menu bar over here that I have a thin blue line on the left-hand side that shows me what layer I'm working on. I'm not working on my 13 colonies layer. You can see how the blue bar moved there. But if you were to accidentally move or mark something here that we need to move to motivations, then you can just drag it to the correct layer. So I'm going to uncheck my second layer and make sure that my left-hand side has that blue line. So I'm going to X out of England, and I want to do this again, but this time I'm going to add a marker for France. So we name it France, click Save, and this defaults to blue, and we want to keep France blue. X out of that, and we're going to drop one more marker, and this time we're going to drop this marker in Spain. Name it Spain, click Save, and we're going to use the paint bucket style menu option, and we're going to change that to this light orange color, because anything that we ever do for Spain is going to be this orange color. So these are the 3 main countries that were competing for land in the Americas. They all started exploring, and we're going to start with the Spanish explorers, because Columbus was kind of one of the first people to discover this big land out there. And we know that based on our description, if you look on your paper, it says that when Columbus left Spain, he believed he could sail west in order to get to Asia. So we want to map that out. So I'm going to go up to my menu options, to the one that says Draw a Line. Click on that, and we're going to click on one that says Add Line or Shape. And notice how my cursor changed to a cross looking icon. That means that we're ready to start drawing our line. So if I click one time on the coast of Spain, I can then use my trackpad to kind of move my line anywhere. And if the further we move it, the more curved our line's going to be because the Earth is round. But what I like to do to make a more accurate line is I like to just make random clicks in different places. We can manipulate our line later if we need to. So I'm going to say that Columbus landed somewhere in the Caribbean to one of these islands. I can zoom in my map before I end my line. I know it kind of looks funny, but I'm going to go touch the plus sign over here, and that's going to allow me to zoom in closer. And then I can just kind of hover over an area to move my map. And my line, I can still keep it going. But if I'm ready to end my line, see how the mouse changes from a cross icon to like a Mickey Mouse pointer finger? Whenever you have that, that allows you to end your line. So I'm going to click on that to end my line. And our instructions say to name that line Columbus. And in the description area, we need to type in the description that's on our paper. Okay, so once I have my description, I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to go back to my paint bucket because I want this to match the color that I had for Spain. Columbus was an explorer who sailed for Spain. I'm going to make my line a little bit thicker by increasing the line width so it stands out a little bit more. And if I have time, or if your teacher says you have time, then you can go ahead and add a picture of Christopher Columbus so you can get an idea of what he looked like, or a picture to go with the info. Click Save. Now I'm going to zoom out, and I can literally see where Columbus explored. So he paved the way for other Spanish explorers. We're going to plot 3 more lines for the Spanish. And these do not have to be exact whatsoever. The idea is that we want to know that there are people out there exploring, and these are some of the same people that you learned about in 7th grade, those Spanish explorers that that you heard of that explored the coast of Texas and on into the Southwest region. So we're going to draw some more of those. So I want to make sure I have my line feature selected. Now, I don't know exactly where these guys went. You know, I just started clicking and nothing happened. So I think what I need to do is refresh my page. Google Maps saves whatever you do, so you can never lose anything. It's always in your drive. So if something starts acting funny, you can always go up here and refresh. In fact, I didn't get very good on my line where I started it. So if I click on the pencil, I can then go and drag my lines to make them where I wanted them to go originally. So I'm going to zoom out, close out Columbus here, and I want to do a second line for my second explorer, Coronado. So I'm going to start around the same area. And Coronado, probably 15, 20 years later, he's going to follow close to where Columbus went. He's not going to kind of go rogue and go his own way, but he's going to keep going, and he's going to explore through the interior of Mexico. And we know in history that he's searching for the 7 cities of gold, or Cibola. So I'm just going to draw his line up into the southwestern part of the U.S., of the modern day U.S. End my line, name it, and add the description. And I'll save a picture for later, but I do want to go ahead and give him the right color line and make it bolder. Right, our third explore, and feel free to pause at any time. If you or your kids need more time, I completely understand. In order to edit a line, like I said before, you can click on it and click on the pencil, and that allows you to move some of the points on your line. But if your line really kind of messed up and went all over the place, sometimes it's just better to use the delete feature and start your line over again. But pause anytime you need to catch up. So our third line is Cortez, and he is going to go close to where Coronado went, but he's going to do his main conquering in the interior of Mexico with the Aztec Empire, the natives there in modern day Mexico. Once again, I want to change my line, make it bolder, and now I'm ready to add my last Spanish explorer. So they're all probably starting from the same shipyard there in Spain. And this time Pizarro is going to go down south into South America, and he is going to end up conquering the Incan Empire, which are the natives there in South America. Just a tidbit of information, I would always get Pizarro and Cortez mixed up. So I just remembered that Pizarro has a Z in his name, and he did not conquer the Aztecs, which has a Z in their name. Cortez has an S in his name, and he did not conquer the Incas, he conquered the Aztecs. So it's kind of backwards, kind of silly, but that's how I remember mine. So now zoomed out, those are Spanish explorers. They range in years from like 1492 to the 1500s. They didn't do this overnight. It took 10, 15 years in between each expedition because it was expensive, it was dangerous, but yet they still went out there because they were looking for gold. They were trying to get rich and find new cool stuff. So the second country that we want to focus on is France. I want to use my line feature, add a line, and this time I'm going to focus on the country north of Spain, France. We're going to click across the Atlantic Ocean. They took a more northern route, and look, they probably didn't want to go anywhere near where the Spanish were because the Spanish were known for their amazing ships, the Spanish Armada. And so France is going to want to explore in their own places. So they're going to take a more northern route, looking for a passage to the Pacific Ocean. And so they're actually going to, and we can zoom in and you can see exactly where they went. They're going to go through this Gulf of St. Lawrence. And through here is the St. Lawrence River. You can see how it's kind of lighter on the map. And they're going to find themselves to the Great Lakes, Erie and Ontario. I want you to continue clicking through the Great Lakes. I know this menu bar is in the way, but if you kind of take your mouse and kind of push towards the edge, your map moves. You can continue clicking through Lake Michigan right here. And once you get to where about Chicago is, you can jog over to the middle of Illinois and make your way to the Illinois-Missouri border. And in between all these states right here is the Mississippi River. I'll zoom in and show you guys. The Mississippi River makes up the border between these states. Let me keep zooming down. And then you can see that the Mississippi River kind of comes out here around New Orleans and out into the Gulf of Mexico. So those French explorers, they found an all-water route through the interior of the US, modern day US. So I want to end my line. I'm going to call it the French. For the description, I search for Northwest Passage. And they didn't find gold that they heard might be out there, but they did find valuable resources like fur. So fur from beaver or other animals that they could sell or trade for. This time I want to use the color blue, the same blue that we used for our France marker. And I want to make that nice and bold so we can see the route that the French took. So when you zoom out, you can definitely see that the French stayed clear of the Spanish and they definitely took a more northern route. And that's why we have a big influence, French influence in Louisiana and in Canada. We'll get to more of that later. So now we want to draw 3 English lines. This first one doesn't need to be very exact. So we're going to go to our draw a line feature. Our first person we're going to draw for England is Sir Walter Raleigh. At this point, it's the year 1585. It's been nearly 100 years after Columbus first made his discovery of America. So for the English, they're not going to go where the French did because England and France are very competitive. They're going to stay away from each other. This time, England is going to go take kind of a middle route to modern day, the coast of North Carolina. So it doesn't have to be exact, but let's just go to the coast right here. I want to save my description, use the paint bucket. I want to color this line red because England is my red marker. And I want you to notice in the description it says that he founded the lost colony of Roanoke. So this explorer is going to drop his people off at the island of Roanoke and he's going to go back to England. He's not going to live there with them, but it turns out later on he's going to come back to Roanoke and he is not going to be able to find the people that he left there. So essentially they became known as the Lost Colony, and that's in 1585. So several years later in 1607, another group of people are going to leave England for some different reasons. They're not necessarily explorers, but these people are going to become colonists. They're going to stay in America. They're going to leave England, so let's start drawing our line. You know what? Let me back up. Let me go ahead and delete this. I'm going to save that and then trash it. What we want to do first, we need to know where this second group is going. So let's use our search bar and type in Jamestown, VA, Jamestown, Virginia. And so this will show us where Jamestown, Virginia really is. When we hit enter, we don't want to add it to our map, but we can X this out and that green marker will stay there. And we can say that Jamestown is on a river named, Jamestown's on a river named after King James of England. And we can zoom out until we can see where everything is again. Now let's start our line off the coast of England. And let's make some markers across the ocean until we get real close to the US, but now let's zoom in. So I went a little north. Let's keep on going, traveling south. And notice I still haven't ended my line. I'm just waiting to get kind of in the right spot. I'm going to go in between this opening by Virginia Beach underneath this Highway 13. And I'm going to keep on traveling up this river that we saw, up the James River, because this is what the English did. They never got off their boat. They're going to keep on traveling up the river. Zoom in a little bit more. And they're going to land here at Jamestown. And so now that I've reached my destination, I'm going to end my line. Can't really see it too good, but I'm going to click on it and call it Jamestown. I can pan over. The description on your paper says that these people were seeking economic profit and they were the first permanent English colony in America, and that was in 1607. That date is really important to remember. So we're going to save that. Again, this is an English colony that you just wrote, so we make it red, make it bolder, and let's zoom out. And so now see this green marker? We don't need to add it to our map. We can just click on it and X out this search option so we don't see it anymore. So that is the second English explorer, or the second group. And the third group, we need to add one more line from England. So this line is going to represent pilgrims that were trying to actually locate the people in Jamestown. This is 13 years later, so this is 1620, but they're going to get caught in a storm. So when we add our line, which I think I need to refresh my page. When we add this line, I'm going to actually make like a loop in the ocean because we know that they got caught up in a pretty good storm at the time they were traveling. They even actually turned back to England after they had started. But they start making their way west across the Atlantic Ocean, and they get blown off course up here to modern-day Massachusetts. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to always look off Massachusetts in view. And look, when I zoom in this close, I can actually see that there's a modern-day city called Plymouth. That's because this is where the Pilgrims originally landed. So I'm going to end my line. And zoom back out so I can see my marker or my description. I'm going to name it Plymouth. And these people weren't coming to America to get rich. They were actually seeking religious freedom. Before they even left the boat, they decided that they were going to sign a document called the Mayflower Compact. And you need to know that that is a social contract for self-government. Basically meaning that these people were going to stick together and not kind of run wild once they got to this new land. They actually spent their winter on the boat before even they got off because of the elements and it being cold and whatnot. So we want to change the style to red because this is still an English colony. Make it a little bit bolder. And that really should complete all of the lines and all of the markers for this first portion of the map. So please use those step-by-step instructions to show your kids how to get this done. At this point, what I would do is I would start asking some of these questions. Now they've created it Let's have them kind of make some, draw some conclusions about what they just did and predict some things that are going to happen. So some questions that I would pose to your kids, and maybe this would be a good opportunity for group work, is I would ask them, are there a lot of people who speak Spanish in Canada? Tell me why or why not. I would have them tell you what languages were spoken in Central America before these Spanish got here, because those people didn't speak Spanish until these people brought their language. I would ask them, I would zoom in on close to Jamestown, and I would say, you know, these people just spent 2 months on a boat crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Why didn't they stop off at Virginia Beach? Why did they keep going up the James River, up a river? They could have stopped here, but they kept going. Then I might ask a question, zoom in on Jamestown, pretty close, and I might ask them, why did the English pick an island to settle on? What is it about this island? And then I would ask them, is there anything about this island when you zoom in on it that makes you think that these people might have had a tough time getting there? What problems are they going to encounter? Does this land look like it's suitable for farming? What are these people going to eat? There's no stores. These people weren't even farmers. They didn't even know how to farm. So what kind of problems do you think they're going to have? Look at the water quality. Look at the James River compared to the water in the Chesapeake Bay. What's the difference between river water and ocean water? Ask your kids this and see if they know those answers. And then talk about, you know, the problems that those people at Jamestown did. Maybe this is a good time to look at some of your DBQ documents, your primary source documents on Jamestown, and have them analyze those. And then lastly, I might have them go to Plymouth, and let's zoom in on Plymouth and see if anybody can find an actual replica of the Mayflower. Because actually, if I zoom in close enough, and it's already on my map, look, the Mayflower too. If I zoom in on this dock here, I can actually see a replica of the actual Mayflower that our kids can go visit. So see if they can find that. And then maybe zoom out and ask them, why are there so many boats here in this area, but not as many right here? Why could that be? And our kids here in Texas, we don't understand the idea of a harbor, or, you know, what it's like to live in an area where shipping is prominent. So, you know, ask them those questions. Ask them what benefit there was for pilgrims to stay here in this harbor area. But ask them questions that'll get them curious, get them thinking, and then you can move into your other lessons for the rest of the week and get them prepared to answer some of those essential questions. After doing this mapping activity and any other activity you have for them, if kids can't tell you why the main reason for these European nations exploring North America, if they can't answer that, then you probably need to reteach that. But I think this map does that for you. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact your technology facilitator for your campus. If you ever need an extra set of hands whenever you're doing one of these lessons with your kids, please call us, and we hope to see you next time for the 13 colonies lesson. Thank you.